Do you want to work smarter, not harder? Collaboration is the key. Welcome to the Perinatal and Pediatric Conversations, the podcast of the PPA. I'm Dr. Linda Slack.
I'm Dr. Ashley Emmel.
I'm Dr. Jessica Taglerini. Today we're going to talk about who we want on our team. We want to collaborate with other members of the healthcare community that can help nurture and grow our perinatal and pediatric practices. We want to be able to help the most people and work together as a team. So I think some of the obvious places that we start with referring is we want to network and nurture relationships with other OBGYNs in the area and midwives. And that seems like the natural place to start, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so many other people that we can network with. One of the things we'll go through in my course is how to network with those people, how to just, first of all, initiate those relationships, and also how to nurture them as well.
One thing that's beautiful about that community, though, the OBs, most people know about the Webster technique and chiropractic. So if you make those connections, those doctors are going to naturally refer to you because they're looking for you.
You make their job easier, right? Yeah. You know, and they look like the hero because they don't have an answer. A large % of pregnant women have back pain. The prevalence of babies being in the wrong position seems to keep going up, and it's well above the recommended percent of cesarean deliveries by the World Health Organization is 10 to 15%. In our country, it's well over 30%. In my home state, it's somewhere around 35%, and that's just not acceptable. So patients are coming to these providers with this issue and they want answers, and they don't necessarily have a solution for them. So when you provide that solution effectively and successfully, you make them look good, you know, and you provide this great service for the patient.
Yeah. Somebody I love having on my team for collaboration are physical therapists and those OB-GYNs as well that we just talked about. But physical therapy, so many in the chiropractic profession are like, shouldn't we do separate things? We don't want to refer back and forth. Absolutely not. Like, they're my favorite referral source. We actually did a really great collaboration with the whole pelvic floor team at a local hospital a couple months ago, and we had lunch and we just collaborated back and forth between all 8 of us of how can we help you? What is a person that we could refer to? If we specialize in pelvic floor dysfunction at the office amongst other things, and we just collaborated, like, what would be an ideal patient for us? Maybe it's somebody they're working with and they're not getting a really great success story with, or they're stalling out. I want those people, and vice versa. So for pelvic floor dysfunction, we love going through and balancing that pelvis and the sacrum. But there's things that as chiropractors, we don't have the license to do, like internal pelvic floor work. And that's where a physical therapist is ideal for pelvic floor dysfunction.
Yeah, you never really heard of pelvic floor PTs until the past few years, and now more and more specializing in that, and it makes it easier, you know, for us because we have those team collaborations for our patients.
Right. And in the pediatric world, in the infant world, we're working with a lot of dentists, a lot of IBCLCs. IBCLCs are a big referral to our practices with babies and who are having difficulty with breastfeeding. So the IBC will refer to us and we'll take care of the baby. And sometimes I invite the IBCLC into the office to help the baby to latch right after a visit, because oftentimes when I do that without the IBCLC, the mother is like, wow, or the parent's going, I can't believe it. It feels so much better already. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to do that after you do your adjustment, actually, to have the parent experience that feeling of, wow, it feels different right away, and knowing that there's hope, because it will deteriorate, right, in the beginning of care. It takes time, but they feel the difference, and they know that when that becomes settled in and corrected, that the infant's going to be able to nurse and breastfeed in whatever fashion that the parent is going for. Also the dentist. So the dentist will know that we are primary care for the babies that they see. Because when they have a baby with tension or tongue tie, they have tension in their bodies, a lot of it. And if we release that tension pre-release, the dentists always send me messages back saying thank you so much. It made that release so much easier and better. And then following up with care after that for a good 6 weeks, I would say, after, to make sure that we have good healing and proper functioning of that area again, and then following through for wellness care to make sure that the nervous system's clear from that point on.
Are you finding in your practice there's some pediatric dentists that require the patient who's scheduled for potentially a tongue or lip tie revision via laser to see you before and after?
Yes, some of them require both seeing the chiropractor and an IBCLC as well. They won't.
It's a team effort.
Yes, and then for older children, we collaborate with speech therapists, with occupational therapists, with physical therapists who help to collaborate and provide the proper care.
Yeah, there's even in our area, there's even a breast pump distributor. There's a woman who, she has a company, they distribute breast pumps, and she's actually been a great resource. There's just so many people, you gotta like think a little outside the box, with your referral team. I didn't realize until I started specializing in this that there's acupuncturists, naturopaths, nutritionists who specialize in perinatal and pediatrics. It's like a very special niche, and they're doing it because there's a need and there's a demand. And so you want them on your team and they want you on your team. And it's really up to you to initiate those relationships. I know every single new patient that walks in my office, and I'm sure you do the same, my staff asks, and my intake form asks, how did they hear about our office, or who can we thank for referring you? And it's kind of a way to plant the seed that our patients are referrals. And the great thing is if it's a provider I haven't met, like we had 2 doctors this week refer in new patients. I'd never heard of these doctors. Well, you bet. I asked about that doctor, and one specifically referred to our office, which made me reach out to that doctor, set up a coffee so I could say thank you and talk to them more about what I do and ask them questions about what they do so we could nurture that some more. The other provider, never heard of before, and they didn't specifically refer to me. They just said, go see a prenatal chiropractor, right? So you bet I reached out to that person as well, and I'm working on setting up something there. I think teaching them what to look for and when to refer to you is really important,
And then following that, it's really important to follow up with your providers if they do refer people to you, to send thanks.
Yeah.
And we just found a really cool way to do it, so you'll find out about that in one of our classes.
Yeah, and when you do really good work for your patients, they're also going to tell those other providers, whether it be any of the things we just listed, their OB-GYNs, their PTs, their dentists, their lactation consults, IBCLCs, acupuncturists, they're going to tell them about you, like, hey, I'm also being treated by this provider. And then you start that co-treatment together where you're talking back and forth. And I always ask the patient if it's one of those like, hey, is it okay if I reach out to that provider so we can collaborate together and have the best plan for you, so we're hitting this from every angle? And patients love that, because for so long we were really out just for ourselves. As chiropractors and other health specialties, there was only an IN team, which there's no IN team. And that's kind of how we were set up of, we're only doing this and we're not going to refer you. No, when people ask me anymore, like, hey, do you have a good referral source for this? I'm like, absolutely. Let me send you to this place, and this is why I want to send you that. And I would hope those providers are doing that for me as well. Hey, I've got a really great pelvic floor specialist in chiropractic that's going to help you, and that's Dr. Ashley Emmel and her team. I'm hoping that is in the community as well.
Yeah, I actually have a special way. I even have that information on my intake form, so I knew what their needs are as far as referrals. I'll teach in my course. Another profession that you might not think is mental health professionals that deal with postpartum depression. There's some newer research pointing towards the sooner women get adjusted postpartum, lower incidence of postpartum depression. That's
Makes
pretty
sense.
amazing.
Total
Yeah,
sense.
it really does. It really does. And also massage therapists. There's massage therapists and specialize in infants, believe it or not. And there's a special, just like there's a special certification being Webster with chiropractors, there's actually one with massage therapists called Mother Massage, and you could there's actually a website and a directory just like there are for prenatal and pediatric chiropractors as well for that. So that's another great idea.
And I think another really important point too to make is, obviously you want these different people on our team, people we can refer to, but you also have to know when you actually need to refer out, because maybe you're not the best person 100%. To be on their team. Like, you're a person of that team, but you're not the best person. So I do that often where I'm just like, we have made a lot of progress, but I'm actually not the best one for you anymore. We need to bring this person in. So you really need to be mindful of that too. Like, we were taught for a long time, don't trust other healthcare professionals. Don't refer out because you're going to lose business. That's not what it's about anymore.
People really appreciate that honesty. And sometimes that provider says, you know what? The chiropractor is doing a great job. I want you to return there. Mm-hmm. And that's the best validation for you and the patient.
Absolutely.
And even with our own peers, we've collaborated. Yeah, we have chiropractors that we collaborate with all the time where, for example, if a chiropractor isn't trained in cranial work and the baby or the child needs cranial work, I've had doctors refer that baby to me, and I take care of the baby and do what's necessary and then refer them back. It really creates a lot of trust from the parents, from the families when you do that.
Yeah. And also collaborate with people on your own team. So there's 3 of us chiropractors in my office. We have massage therapy and IBCLC. So there's so many people. And you know what? Like, I'm not great at extremity adjusting when it comes to shoulder. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not great at that. I'm going to send you across the hall to Dr. Jen, and she's going to take care of you. But it's actually really enlightening that I hear from some bigger offices that have all of those multidisciplinaries in their office, and they don't refer to one another, and they're the same team. So make sure you're referring within your team as well.
Yeah, and in speaking of your own internal team, it's important that your staff, if you have front desk staff, CAs, office managers, anyone that's going to be answering the phone or interacting with patients, that they have the proper verbiage on what you do and what you don't do, right?
Mm-hmm. Really and know that you can't do it all.
You can't do it all. Even though you want to. I know.
Sometimes we do want to, right?
Yes. So we hope this podcast was enlightening and helpful, and we can't wait to see you at the next one. Visit us at our website at the Perinatal and Pediatric Academy.com, hosted by Ellis Bennis and the Floating Axe Technologies.
And please follow us on Facebook at Perinatal and Pediatric Academy.
And we look forward to seeing you in our next podcast.